Apparently someone needs to go over to the Prime Minister's house and give Justin Trudeau his meds because he's on Twitter talking about the harassment of journalists when he's the same guy who, when he sexually assaulted a female journalist, said he wouldn't have done it at the time if he knew she was a journalist, and then later made a different excuse when he was Prime Minister, saying that she just interpreted the situation differently. But instead of noticing and calling out Justin Trudeau's gross hypocrisy, the ever-woke and always whiny Canadian Association of Journalists shows up to complain that Justin Trudeau isn't passing expansive hate speech legislation. This legislation would not do anything in this case because threats and harassment against anyone is already illegal. So what I assume that the CAJ is doing is demanding that Justin Trudeau's Liberal government and the NDP pass some form of protection for journalists against criticism, or specifically legacy media journalists against criticism, because it's been a narrative that's been going around that somehow complaints against the legacy media's bad work is creating like a hostile work environment or creating some sort of a toxic environment in which people are going around threatening others. But we're not here to talk about Justin Trudeau today. We're here to talk about Global News' own Rachel Gilmore. Again. For the fourth time. Because I have nothing left in my life but talking about Rachel Gilmore. It's very sad. Anyways, I want to talk about Rachel Gilmore's video today on Diagolon, Jeremy MacKenzie's fake organization Diagolon. Not only because of the crazy media hysteria over a meme terrorist group, but also because she's effectively enabling the actual crazy stuff that Jeremy MacKenzie does by kind of putting him into this Diagolon box, which enables him pretending as if everything he does is just a joke, based solely on the fact that Diagolon is a joke. In essence, my argument today is that Rachel Gilmore is the best partner in crime that Jeremy MacKenzie has ever had. So without further ado, here's the latest terrible Gilmore TikTok video, and afterwards I'm going to talk a little bit about things that Jeremy MacKenzie has actually said that would be far better to highlight than just the stupid Diagolon meme.
Conservative leadership frontrunner Pierre Poilievre came under fire this past weekend after an image of him shaking hands with Jeremy MacKenzie, the founder of a group known as Diagolon, emerged.
Goodness, it's garbage like this that makes me question the intelligence of people who consume legacy media. This is just tabloid journalism with politically correct hysteria injected into it. There's nothing substantial about this story. It's just, oh, Pierre Poilievre shook hands with someone at an event where he shook hands with hundreds of people. How could he? Well, he went to an Arby's that Paul Frum went to 5 years ago. Oh, how could he betray Canadians like this? There's nothing to this story other than the fact that the media wants it to be a story. There's nothing but crumbs of information here, and they're trying to turn it into a narrative where somehow Pierre Poilievre is in league with Jeremy MacKenzie.
Now, Poilievre says he shakes hands with tens of thousands of people, and he can't possibly background check them all.
Correct!
But what exactly is Diagolon?
What a blatant non sequitur. Pierre Poilievre says he shakes hands with hundreds of people a day and is not going to do a background check on all of them, and for that reason he refused to apologize for having shaken hands with Jeremy MacKenzie. And then Rachel Gilmore follows it up by saying, but what's Diagolon? It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. These two thoughts are not connected together.
Basically, it's a group of live streamers that made up a joke country based on the states and provinces that, at the time, didn't have mask mandates. It started as a meme. Their pretend vice president is an evil goat. But during their hours-long live streams, Diagolon members have warned about a looming societal collapse, which they blame on the government.
Yes, it's still just a joke. I really don't know why she keeps harping on about Diagolon. There's way more stuff to talk about with Jeremy MacKenzie if you're actually trying to find bad things he says. But she's just grasping at straws here, and she's about to continue grasping at straws in the next clip, where she tries to tie just minuscule details to try and prove that they might have a darker edge to them.
And they'll call for something to be done about this without saying what. This is what worries extremism experts, especially after what appeared to be Diagolon patches were found alongside a bunch of weapons the RCMP seized in Coutts, Alberta earlier this year. Because while this group says they're just joking around, the experts say followers might take the warnings about society to heart and decide to do something about it. Read more at globalnews.ca.
Hey, I don't like Jeremy MacKenzie, but this is a stupid thing to say. Just because people had patches on their vests when they were arrested for improperly carrying weapons or storing weapons, does not actually mean that somehow Diagolon might have some sort of terrorist wing to it. It's still a joke, and just because people are able to order the patches online and put them on their vests doesn't mean anything more than that. What I find particularly disgusting about the end of this video is that after only being able to point to 2 patches on a singular vest, Rachel Gilmore then moves on to say, well, there's experts out there who say that this obvious joke in a hypothetical future might not be an obvious joke, and it might have actually turned into a violent extremist movement. That's ridiculous. You could say that about literally anything. And is it just me, or was this video supposed to be in part about Pierre Poilievre? She just sort of sprinkles him in at the start and then tries to smear him by attaching him to Jeremy MacKenzie as if the connection is substantial in any way. And this is why I see Rachel Gilmore as basically being an indirect promoter of Jeremy MacKenzie. There was no reason on this planet to tie a famous politician like Pierre Poilievre to Jeremy MacKenzie, thus making MacKenzie more famous in the process. And then the other thing that she does that's like really stupid is then her main criticism of Jeremy MacKenzie to make you think that he's bad is that, well, he jokes around. Oh, he promotes a meme. Like, that's just going to make people like him more, because that makes it seem like he's just a comedian that you're taking way too seriously. Like, I'll play a clip right now where he talks about the Nuremberg trials being a kangaroo court and saying that Hermann Goering was murdered because he was talking too much sense. Like, I'll play the raw clip right here.
The Nuremberg trial. It was a kangaroo court. They just hung everybody. The funny part about that was they let Hermann Goering speak once. And then he was like, he was saying too much, he was talking too much sense, and they just shut him down, wouldn't let him talk. And then he committed suicide, right, with the cyanide capsule. They murdered the guy. They even put it on radio, I think, in Germany, and people were like, oh, and they were like, no, he's got to go. This guy's a problem. And they just killed it. They just killed everybody. It was a kangaroo court. It was ridiculous. You've got all the Germans being judged by their enemies, right? The prosecution was all Russian, American, and British. How do you think that's going to go? Anyway, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let's wrap it up.
You see, how is Rachel Gilmore helping anything by highlighting stupid jokes about Diagolon to go after Jeremy MacKenzie when clips like that exist? And there's more clips like that. There's a lot of clips of Jeremy MacKenzie pushing conspiracies about Jews. It's insane. He makes Mel Gibson look like he attends synagogue. I am genuinely suspicious if Rachel Gilmore and other members of the legacy media are intentionally making weak attacks against Jeremy MacKenzie in order to make people on the right side of the aisle embrace him, thinking he's just a edgy jokester who the media doesn't like because they're overly sensitive. And then in a couple of weeks' time, they're going to roll out all the actual bad clips of Jeremy MacKenzie saying nutty or anti-Semitic things in order to try and smear normal conservatives as racist for having, supported him, even though they didn't know he said any of that stuff. I completely understand why a lot of people actually allowed Jeremy MacKenzie to come on their shows during this time, because on its surface, Jeremy MacKenzie was 100% being smeared by the legacy media. It just so happens that the legacy media left out all of the actual bad things he said and done, to the point where it made Jeremy MacKenzie seem like a hero in the situation, and in a certain strange way he kind of was. But based on the fact that I knew a lot about Jeremy MacKenzie over a year before any of this went down, I was kind of seeing a bit of a bad trend occurring where people were just assuming because the legacy media sucks that Jeremy MacKenzie must be good, when two things can be true at once. Both Rachel Gilmore and Jeremy MacKenzie are just awful, and they truly deserve each other. They both have hacky media shows, and they both love boiling everything down to identity politics and tribalism. I think that's really gross, and I think everyone who acts like this, whether they're on the left or supposedly on the right, should be absolutely ignored. Now, before I put a cap on this video, I don't want to seem unsympathetic to Rachel Gilmore. She has been harassed and she has been sent threats, and the people who sent her that are disgusting morons, and they should be condemned. At the same time, not to now undermine my sympathy, but as someone who's also been harassed and threatened and had to call the police about it, the best thing to do is go radio silent about any of that stuff. It's incentivizing people to send you stuff by posting about it on social media, because to a certain extent, to these morons who are sending you threats, which are probably not serious threats, they like seeing the fact that you post about it and that you make the things that they send you part of your day. And the best way of avoiding that is going radio silent and not giving them the pleasure of seeing you react to it. Well, anyways, that does it for today, and I hope you'll like this video on YouTube or to Facebook, wherever you happen to be watching, and follow our page so you can keep seeing new content that comes up. Thank you.